Hey, welcome back to the Fifth Line 5R show. We are back, and the Stanley Cup semifinals are here. The Montreal Canadiens are taking on the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Tampa Bay Lightning are taking on the New York Islanders. As always, I'm Alex, joined by Manny, and great to have you guys back here because after the Panthers loss, we haven't really done anything, but we're back, and we're going to
Yeah,
up the
right.
content a little bit. Yeah, we were going through a little bit of a rough patch there, but we're back now. What's going on, Manny?
What's up, my friend? No, excited. I mean, there's a couple teams that I wish that weren't in the Final Four, of course, but it is what it is, right? Hey, the Florida Panthers won against the Tampa Bay Lightning twice, right? And Carolina did it once. I mean, I guess there's anything to salt the wound just a little bit. Maybe that's that right there. But no, man, it feels great to be back. Now you have the Final Four set. Would have never thought that Montreal would have been, come to this. What about Vegas, man? Like we all, I mean, I know I did, right? I had them losing already right away to Colorado, and then all of a sudden, Pete DeBoer does that, that whole goal line change of the goalies in game two, and then Marc-Andre Fleury just says, hey, I'm going to become my old self from Pittsburgh, right? And then, boom, comes up big. And then what about the Islanders, all right? They just manhandled Boston. I thought Boston probably had that series probably after their OT win in game three. Taylor Hall, though, nowhere to be found. I mean, this is why they went out there to get a guy like that, right? For these types of games where your top line is struggling, where you needed that second line scoring, that didn't happen. And then, Winnipeg is going to be Winnipeg. I mean, unfortunately, Mark Scheifele incident. It is what it is. To me, it was a dirty hit. Was going to get suspended regardless, right? But a lot of promising things, though, going towards the offseason into next season, especially for the Florida Panthers. Not to mention, though, as well, Alex, we're going back into the whole original division setup, and that's going to be fun, very much.
Yeah, I wish we went way back to like 2010 when we were playing 1 versus 8 because those are always really fun matchups. You're still going to probably find Tampa or Toronto or whoever it is in that Atlantic division again next year, but the Discover Central division and all these other divisions will not be back next year. We do have full capacity in a lot of stadiums now. The Canadian division, even as fans, Canada wasn't even letting people outside of their homes. Now we have people in stadiums, and the Montreal Canadiens, the lowest ranked team in the playoffs, are one of the last 4 teams, and they potentially can make the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's all because of Carey Price.
I would say
for the most part,
Price,
at least for that first series.
Yeah, of course. But then how about Tyler Toffoli stepping up, and how about those names that unless you're an Abs fan, you really don't know about, right? And it's just a collective team right now, and can they get this thing rolling against Vegas? Vegas, to me, right now, just feels confident. They're on a roll. They're playing with such at ease that can the Abs actually go to Vegas and steal a game? Because to my understanding, the first 2 games will be in Vegas, right?
Yes.
To my understanding, yeah. So to me, the key in that series will be can Montreal at least take 1 game? Not to say that they can't win the series if they take 3 at home and 1 Vegas, but they're going to eventually have to win 1 game on the road. Can they steam momentum that is the Golden Knights right now? Because to me, it just seems like they beat the best team that we thought that could win the Cup. Not only the President's Trophy winner, which once again, it comes to reality that it doesn't really matter if you're the most team with the most points that wins, right, Alex? I mean, I think it was probably the Red Wings that won the most Cups being the President's Trophy winner, and that was back in the day. And now lately, those teams really just don't win because when it comes to playoff hockey and series, it's just so many matchups, they all cross over and whatnot, and momentum is huge. But can Montreal steal 1 game, even 1 and 2, and can they continue to play? Can Carey Price still play the way he is? It's going to be tough. But, hey, they did it with Edmonton. I'm sorry. They did it with Toronto. They did it with Toronto. Being down 3-1, by the way. A lot of people seem to forget that, right? It's not like Montreal had a 3-1 series lead. It was the other way around.
And there was 2 straight overtime games as well while they were down 3-1.
Exactly. And in Game 7, they just absolutely manhandled Toronto. And then you have the whole Winnipeg thing that after the hit in Game 1 to Evans, they just absolutely dismantled the Winnipeg Jets, okay? And you want to, to talk about how Mark Scheifele, whatever his name is, he felt like the whole reports out there that they didn't want Winnipeg to win, and they were doing it for the city of Winnipeg, and they were doing it for the. I'm like, come on, dude, you're too much of yourself. Who's to say that the Montreal Canadiens can't do it? I don't think they will, but you never know. You never know.
The odds are definitely against them. The North Division was by far the weakest division in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, it was the most underwhelming series. And I think a large part of that is because the first round had absolutely no fans until Game 6 in Montreal and Game 7 in Toronto. Second round, they allowed about 2,500 fans. The atmosphere in playoff hockey, as we know, being at the Panthers games when we had 15,000 people, it was electric. Now, look at Vegas, 100% capacity, 18, 19,000 people at that amazing arena, T-Mobile Arena. Every hit, every shot, the crowd just got crazy. The same thing in Colorado with their fans. How hard is it going to be for Montreal to go into a building like Vegas, which is undoubtedly one of the loudest in the NHL? Now, keep in mind, the Bell Center is the loudest arena in hockey, or one of the 3 loudest arenas in hockey when you have a full stadium. They haven't played in a full stadium since March 2020, maybe. So Vegas has been feeding off this crowd energy. Vegas has been playing in front of crowds pretty much the entire playoffs. Montreal has to go against, I think, the best team in the NHL. They should have probably had the President's Trophy until the last 2 games of the season. There were some cap issues and they couldn't play everyone. Vegas had a more deep team than Colorado. Vegas built their team a little bit better. Colorado, with all the star-studded names they have in their lineup, they're too offensively gifted on the back end, and they were getting absolutely bullied by Vegas. And that's the problem. You need to have a lot of strength and a lot of defensive defensemen on your back end, and that's why Vegas is, I think, had the better edge in this series. They just had a better built team, and they flexed their muscle power throughout the later on games in the series, because that first game they got absolutely run out of the building.
Yeah.
And obviously Leonard was in net. It wasn't Fleury. They were trying to give him rest, and there was a lot of just like back and forth going on in that first game, but the rest of the games are pretty close until that last Game 6. So Vegas is going to be an extremely tough team to beat, but then again, Montreal with Carey Price, it's definitely something that could be a great story. But Montreal is not going to have Jeff Petrie for Game 1, and that's their best defenseman. He's better than Shea Weber. He's better than Joel Edmondson. He's better than any defenseman they had. He's one of the best two-way defenders in the league. Not having him in the lineup is going to be extremely just bad for the Canadiens in Game 1.
Yeah, so then it kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning. And can Montreal somehow go to Vegas and steal one game, right? Even if they lose both, you obviously have to win your 3 games back home, and then you still got to win one. So eventually Montreal already knows what road, stands in front of them to reach the finals. You got to win a game on the road. Obviously, Game 1, you're not going to have your best defenseman. So do you change your game plan? I don't think you do, because you know that you're in this for the long haul. It's a 7-game series, which I think that's what Colorado was not able to do. They played Game 1 and Game 2 and kind of Game 3 all the way to the third when they had the lead. To them, me personally, it just felt like they felt, you know what, we have this, right? So we're not going to continue to put pressure. And once you saw the energy in that building just carry the Golden Knights, it's like the Golden Knights carried that with them back to Colorado, being down 2-0. They tie it up and they win in an OT and they bring it back home. Like that right there, you got to give credit to a team which knew what was better than the other team. But Colorado just looked like they just had no answer after they lost Game 3, even though they were still up 2-1. I don't know if that's coaching. I don't know if that's just lack of leadership. But I think McKinnon said it best, right? Last night, he's been in the league 9 years and he hasn't won SHIT. So that's kind of disappointing per se.
Yeah, did you hear the reporter ask him?
By the way, I don't know who that reporter
question
was, but that reporter should be banned for a couple of years and maybe forever.
That was an Avalanche reporter too, and I was kind of surprised just hearing McKinnon looked extremely ticked off.
McKinnon was like, "You gotta be kidding me right now. Is that what's being asked?" What next? But listen, Montreal is gotten to this point not by luck, I think, right? Like, we have to be honest here. You know, being down 3-1 is no fluke. I don't care if you're playing a Toronto's team without John Tavares. I don't care if you're playing a Winnipeg team that absolutely swept the high-powered Edmonton Oilers offense, because I'm not even going to talk about their defense and goaltending, because to me, I think the Edmonton Oilers, where they're weak at, is where, to me personally, the Avalanche are also weak at. That's defenseman, depth, and goaltending, okay? Thank God I don't have to see Grubauer anymore with his glove hand next to his chin, because all the goals were happening to the top corner of his glove. It just kept getting hard to watch. But, you know, Tyler Toffoli has stepped up. Overall, Gallagher has stepped up. Like, you know, those are things that you have to take in consideration. Now, these two teams have not played each other in quite a long time, right? Obviously, Montreal, you know, they had the division in Canada, and Vegas has their own division out west. The matchups, to me, are going to be very simple. Can you match the energy that the Golden Knights are going to give you from the drop of the puck? Okay? They're full steam ahead right now. Montreal hasn't played since what? Maybe 3 days less?
Yeah.
Can you develop some type of urgency in your mindset going into Vegas for game one? Because I don't think Montreal can bounce back if they end up losing 4-0, 5-2, 5-0. Like, those are results to me that maybe can hurt a team like this, because unfortunately they don't. To me, you're playing a team in a 7-game series that been questioned, and they've bounced back. They've been in these types of situations lately. They've made it to the conference finals, the last 3 years or something since they've come into existence. They lost
3 of the last 4 years.
Sorry, 3 of the last 4 years. So this team has experience in series like this. Montreal does not, right? And this is when the grown-ups start to all of a sudden realize the little things that matter in series like this. That's the one concern I have with Montreal. And, of course, not having their best defenseman extremely hurts. Shea Weber is not the Shea Weber of Nashville anymore, or not even of the Canadiens for the first 2 seasons when he first got traded there or when he signed there. So that's going to be the question. If you can somehow keep game one within reach, give yourself an opportunity, you never know, right? But if it's 2-0 early, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, game one, let's be honest here, Montreal's not going to win that game. So they have to somehow come out of it in game two. But let's just go game by game.
Yeah, I think the key for Montreal is you're playing against Marc-Andre Fleury, who's the best goaltender that you faced all season. That's a 3-time Stanley Cup champion, a guy that's been to multiple Stanley Cup finals. Him and Carey Price, obviously Price doesn't have any cups, but him and Price have been 2 of the best goaltenders of the last decade and a half, since they both entered the league, basically. Carey Price, obviously, his team on paper isn't as good as Marc-Andre Fleury's team, and I think Price is going to have to steal one of these 2 games in Vegas, because quite frankly, if you go down 2-0 to Vegas, I don't think you're winning both games in Montreal, because I just don't see Montreal. I don't see Vegas taking a foot off the gas when they're up 2-0 going into Montreal. This isn't a Toronto team that hasn't made it out of the first round since I was 3 years old. This is the Vegas Golden Knights, who has made 3 of the last 4 years the conference finals, has made it to the Cup final. They have Mark Stone. They have Max Pacioretty, former captain of the Montreal Canadiens. They have Alex Pietrangelo, who has also won a Stanley Cup. The list goes on and on.
Marshall Reed, on and on.
It's a physical team. Yeah. It's a team that has scoring. There's defense. Yeah. There's this is how you build a hockey team. Mm-hmm. It really is, because you got guys that can hit, you got guys that can fight, you got guys that can score, defense, and you got one of the best goalies.
Play both ends.
Exactly. Mark Stone's one of the best 2-way forwards in the NHL, and that's why he's up for the Selke.
Ottawa should be killing themselves watching this right now, to know that they could have somehow figured out a way to make it just at least a happy relationship. Right?
If that Ottawa team stayed together for 2 more seasons, they would have had Mike Hoffman, Erik Karlsson still, Mark Stone, like It
Oh
would have been a
man,
really, really, really nice team. Remember that
that
team
team would have been
was
much better than the team that lost to the Ducks in the finals, man, for
well.
sure.
That team was one goal away from going to the Stanley Cup Final and potentially winning it because they lost in overtime in Game
Yeah.
7 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Erik Karlsson was playing on I think a torn ACL that entire series too, or a broken foot or something.
Mhm.
But we talked a little bit about this Vegas series and this Montreal series. I think both of us are kind of on the same page. Vegas is the favorite, but we're not counting out Montreal. But they got to steal at least one of these games in Vegas.
Yeah.
It's going to be so tough to try and come back. Now, I know neither of us want to talk about these two teams, but
Yeah.
we got the Islanders and we got the Lightning. Yeah, what can we say? We've seen this before. And once again, the Tampa Bay Lightning are so close to a Stanley Cup Finals, and they're clearly the favorite. We've talked about them all season. They played the Panthers. They just came off of a commanding series win over the Carolina Hurricanes. Keep in mind, two of the best players on the Hurricanes were injured that entire series, Nino Niederreiter and Vincent Trocheck. Trocheck played Game 5, I believe, on a injured something. Anyways, they're playing the New York Islanders. They're led by guys like Matt Barzal. And that's a pretty nice team, too, the Islanders. They got young guys like Noah Dobson, but then they got veteran leadership from guys like Jordan Eberle. They got Leo Komarov. It's a nice team.
All of this without their captain, right? Who's out?
No Josh Anderson. He's been out the entire playoffs. But they've made some big moves at the deadline. This isn't the same team as last year. They picked up Andrew Ladd. They picked up Kyle Palmieri. This is a very nice team. They got nice goaltenders. If they need a switch between Varlamov and I'm blanking on his name, Sorokin. They got nice goaltenders there too.
Wasn't Varlamov with the Avalanche last season and the year before?
I think it was 2 or 3 seasons ago.
3 seasons ago, and they were just killing him in Colorado. I guarantee you he's loving his whole scenery right now.
Well, I was surprised that Varlamov got more starts than Sorokin because I watched Sorokin in the KHL, and Sorokin was one of the best goalies there. But Varlamov has held his own. Sorokin will be the goalie of the future there. But yeah, this is going to be a great series. I mean, obviously, we know the Lightning well. They got like a 74-headed monster up there.
Talking about though, Alex.
Anders Lee. Yeah, I said Josh Anderson. I don't know what I was saying. He's on the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah, Anders Lee is the captain of the New York Islanders. Thanks for the correction. I was so caught up in Montreal.
Yeah, that's his name. Okay.
Yeah, Anders Lee.
Listen, I don't watch Islanders hockey, so I really can't care less, man. But let's be honest here. The Islanders right now, they're on a revenge tour. Last season, they were really embarrassed against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think the Lightning won that series, 4-1, I believe.
I can't even remember.
Huh?
I can't even remember what happened.
Listen, all I know is that series was not competitive, right? So, you go out and make these trades, and listen, your captain hasn't been there all season long, but yet you go out and you basically, you dismantle a Boston Bruins team that looked to be more physical than you, faster than you, better at goaltending than you, and you just somehow figure out a way to win these games. Like Game 2, they were up big, went into overtime. They won that game. Game 3, they lose in overtime, and then all of a sudden it's like they go back to Boston 2-2 after winning Game 4 on a rout, and it's like they never stopped. And that's
Stefan said it was 4-2. Steven or Stefan, sorry if I'm getting the name wrong. 4-2 last year.
Yeah, so to me, the same way that the Islanders just steamrolled the Boston Bruins is the same way that I think that the Golden Knights just were the much better hockey team overall, like you said, just steamrolled the Avalanche. So, but again, it's Tampa Bay, right? We're going back to this team that didn't have a couple of superstars all season long, and right now they just look as better than ever.
Well, they're rolling right now, but I'm looking at this Islanders team. And the way they play hockey, they can just, if they get up on you, they will park the bus and you will not score on them.
I am a huge Isles fan in this series, man. I love the Denny Potvin, bro. Let's go Isles, bro. Yeah,
I'm pulling for the Islanders in this one too. Obviously, I'm not an Islanders fan, but I'm not rooting for Tampa.
There's absolutely no way I'm rooting for Tampa. And I hate the Rangers as well, so there's no way I'm rooting for the Rangers either. Oh, man. But no, listen, Alex, I think we're looking at a 7-game series. I really think we're looking at a 7-game series. Unless one team steals a game on the road that they weren't supposed to, I really see the Islanders somehow, some way winning a couple of games on the road. And because they've done it, they've shown it to us already. And I agree. They're not those big names that Tampa has. But whatever they're doing together collectively, it's working. Like Barry Trotz has his team focused, has his team playing on another level that last year doesn't even resemble the same team at the same time of the season. And, losing 4-2 last year, I'm pretty sure it was, not really what they were looking at. But, of course, I always look at last year now, Alex, when it comes to any sport, the Miami Heat with basketball or even with hockey, right? Teams were in a bubble and there were all these circumstances and rules and stuff, but those are still things that players have to learn through. They have to go through that learning curve. And I feel like this season, fans are coming back. The energy is amazing. I mean, if you have not yet watched an NHL playoff hockey game, I feel bad for you. And don't tell me, I don't like or watch hockey. That's not the point. You got to be able to just take in the environment and feel it. And that's what I loved about the Florida Panthers fans that showed up to Game 5 and Games 1 and 2 and whatnot against Tampa, even though we didn't win the series. But I think this is a 7-game series, man, and it's going to be hitting. There's going to be scoring. But my key matchup is this: which goaltender, Varlamov and company, or Vasilevsky? Which one is going to have the bigger impact? Because we saw what Vasilevsky did against the Carolina Hurricanes, man. That man just didn't. I mean, unless one game, I think it was. I think it was Game 4 where it was 6-4 or whatever.
Yeah, the back and forth. They were scoring every 2 minutes.
They were scoring, but other than that, every other game, Vasilevsky was just man amongst boys in there. He looked like Dominic Hasek with his quickness to the right, and he looked like El Bedafor with his glove to his left. The man was just amazing. So that to me is going to be the key. Which goaltender arises, or goaltender and company, as we like to say with the Isles, shows up in this series against the Tampa Bay Lightning, which you can't give them power play opportunities. You can't play.
I swear they only score on power plays.
It seems like that, but every time the same thing since they played Florida. Stay out of the box.
Yeah, I think my key for the Islanders is you're gonna get called against. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be penalties. There's gonna be power plays for the Lightning. That's what makes it fun. So you're gonna have to find a way to kind of isolate that extra guy that's sitting in the slot, or Kucherov or Stamkos on the wings, or Victor Hedman. You're just going to have to find a way to not let that many goals in go against you shorthanded, because the Islanders, they've been having contributions from a bunch of different guys this playoff. Pajot, Bailey, Beauvillier, Brock Nelson, Kyle Palmieri, Barzal. There's been a lot of distributed scoring. And it's not like one guy is 20 points. It's a nice balance between the scoring. It's just you're playing Tampa. Now, watching what the Islanders did to Boston, I think Boston would have been a great matchup for the Lightning too. Mm-hmm. I think the way those two teams play hockey, it would counteract, and it would be a great series. I think it's going to be a great series now. I also agree. I think it's going to go 7, and I think the Islanders are going to pull through. I think it's about time that this Islanders team gets past the Lightning, and I believe in Barry Trotz to do it.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any coach, though, that can come up with a game plan on how to beat a team that beat you the season before, it's definitely Barry Trotz. And again, though, to me, you can't be on the ice, right? It's about your players being able to perform when it counts. And I think, though, this Isles team is locked in, man, and I am seeing a New York Islanders versus Golden Knights Stanley Cup final. Because to me, both teams just have and play the way that we just said, right? They're overall well built. They're getting key contributions from guys that, is needed during times like this. But I'm not going to discount the defending Stanley Cup champs either, right? That's another thing as maybe after games 1 and 2, I can probably make a real prediction, but I first have to see how both games turn out, because as we know, games 1 and 2 don't mean anything. Tell that to the Colorado Avalanche, which outscored the Golden Knights. What was it, 15-1 or 15-2 the first 2 games?
That first game was just ridiculous. The amount of goals they put up.
It's so funny, right? Because I try to tell young fans, right, that haven't really watched playoff games, like when it comes to sports, right? Either basketball or hockey, especially hockey. hockey can switch so quickly that just because you beat a team and you outmaneuvered them for 60 minutes in game one, that doesn't mean that in games 3, 4, and 5 is going to go that way. You're continuously seeing the same guys every single game, right? So then which game plan is going to work now, right? Which way, which adjustments are going to be the ones that are going to create that key difference in a series. That's why for me, I always look at after game 2 and I kind of try to think, okay, well, what does the other team, if they're down 0-2, do they need to do better? What do they need to do differently? I was solely confused on the Golden Knights because I was not expecting all of a sudden for them to, awake or arise from the ashes and do what they did. And then I remember, wait a minute, this team has always been in moments like this, though, for the last 3 to 4 years, as you said, right? And that's the part that we seem to forget, the experience and the players that these guys have, or the experience that these guys have, that in crucial moments like this, it does create a difference. And Marc-Andre Fleury just decided to play 10 years younger. Mark Stone decided to play like Mark Stone. And, of course, Max Pacioretty comes back from being hurt. And that creates a huge boost. Now you involving fans and the show that is Vegas. It's going to be tough for Montreal, Alex. I'm so with you, man. It's going to be something that they haven't endured or experienced in almost 2 years to walk into a building, basically a conference final game and be like, damn, hi.
Well, the storylines are there for both teams. For Vegas, it's Marc-Andre Fleury rising back from the ashes. Pittsburgh's kicking themselves right now because they kept Murray over him. Now Murray is in Ottawa. They're using Tristan Jarry. Jarry basically lost them that series. Oof. And now Marc-Andre Fleury's a really good chance of winning another Stanley Cup. And then you got Montreal's kids. You got the kids playing. You got Romanov in the lineup now, Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. These guys are all under 22 years old. 22 and under. You got a bunch of kids going up against some NHL veterans. It's going to be so exciting just to see how this plays out, because if Montreal somehow wins this series, they have a chance of becoming the first team to win the Stanley Cup from Canada since they did it in 1993. But we're still a ways away from that.
That Canada wants somebody in there because they're tired of seeing Calgary lose. They're tired of seeing Ottawa lose. They're tired of seeing Edmonton lose.
Toronto lit up the CN Tower Montreal colors, and people in Toronto are not happy about that. But they did it anyways.
By the way, if any Maple Leafs fan is still blaming Jack Campbell, screw you, bro. Yeah, come on,
definitely wasn't his fault.
Go and call Mitch Marner. Or go call Austin Matthews, but don't blame on Soupy, man. Soupy has nothing to do with how poorly you guys performed after being up 3-1, okay? And whoever runs that Toronto Maple Leafs account about how many days they haven't won a cup since, God bless you, sir or ma'am. You are an absolute joy to follow and to retweet and like every single time you add on another number to that streak. I'm sorry. Sorry, Alex. I just had to say that.
Nah, I'm good. As always, we are just looking forward to the Florida Panthers season because there's lots of bright spots. I should have my article coming out pretty soon about top 5 prospects in the Panthers system.
In the Box with Alex is going to come back on Wednesdays.
Yes, we are returning. We'll be talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs on that, and if there's Panthers updates, we'll bring you that too. But I think we should wrap this up, Manny. We had a good discussion about both sides.
Are we going to make predictions right now before game 1?
All right. You know what? Just to get the YouTube comments a little angered, I'm taking Montreal in the upset, and then I'm taking the Islanders in the upset. There you go.
An all Eastern final? I've never heard of such thing. What the hell?
Let's hope it happens.
Wow, Canada versus US. It's going to be that.
That's going to be insane.
It's going to be that again. It's going to be that again. I'm telling you that when it was Tampa, Calgary, and Ottawa, Anaheim,
2011 Boston versus Vancouver was the best series I've seen.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go Habs Lightning.
Wow.
And it's gonna be painful to watch that whole series.
Well, you know what?
Both of those teams are in the Panthers division next year.
The one kryptonite for Tampa during all those playoff runs was the Montreal Canadiens, because they had some crazy series throughout the years. And you never know. I wouldn't mind seeing that happen, and I wouldn't mind seeing Carey Price lift the Stanley Cup in Tampa. But, that we're still a lot of hockey before we can even get to those hypotheticals. Thank you for watching. As always, thank you, Manny, for coming on the show. And please subscribe to the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications, because we're going to have a couple shows coming out. And, of course, on Wednesday, In the Box with Alex is returning. And I don't think you want to buy the Cardiac Cat shirt, but we got other stuff on the 5 Reasons merchandise store.
When is your Panthers article coming out again on the early season prospects or something like that?
It's ready now, so it should be up tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for that, guys. All right, guys. Thank you. Have a good night.